Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I got a truck talk for you guys here today. And when you start talking about prepping and preparedness, there's certain topics that are eventually going to come up, and one of them is bartering. Bartering is something that is linked to preparedness. It always has been, because if something bad happens, cash might not have any value because people are going to need things and they're going to need stuff. And for me personally, I seen a lot of bartering when I was a kid growing up, between the different people I knew and family members and stuff. And how the old timers approached barter was different than how modern preppers talk about bartering. Now, when you look up bartering stuff, it's sort of like a post-apocalyptic flea market. And that's sort of not how it was when I seen the old-timers barter amongst themselves. And there were some things that they did that I would probably do if there was some type of SHTF event. And one of the main ones is they only pretty much bartered with people they knew or people who were acquaintances. They didn't barter items with strangers. And that's one thing that if something bad does happen, I've got, people that I know that I'll barter with and probably even give them a deal because, we all help each other out and stuff. And, then I have on the periphery, I have certain people that are acquaintances, and there's quite a few people that I'm acquaintances with. I'm going to be more apt to barter with those folks if something bad does happen for different things than a complete stranger. I'm probably not going to barter with a complete stranger. Now, I may barter with some people I don't like, but if I still know them and have a pretty good idea of, how they are, I might still barter with people I don't like. See, there's this, concept, in prepping that if SHTF happens, you're going to only interact with people you like in your group or your clan or whatever it is. And I don't believe that's how it's going to be. You're still going to we interact with people we like and don't like every day now. So why wouldn't that be any different, after SHTF? So that's pretty much how I look at that in a nutshell. But when the old timers bartered, they bartered for stuff that was useful in what they used. And there's two particular stories that I'm going to tell you here with the old time barter that revolved around my parents. And my mother was known in the neighborhood for several things. One was her bread. She baked excellent bread. Another thing is she knew a lot about, home remedies and that kind of stuff. She grew excellent potatoes. She was the best potato gardener that I've ever seen. And I've got a little bit of that in me, but I still am not near as good as what my mother was. And the other thing Mom did is she made wine. She made some of the best homemade wine that you ever had in your life. And when we would get meat was beef in particular, because chickens and stuff we had ourselves and we took care of and we butchered that stuff ourselves. But beef, usually twice a year, Mom would either get usually a quarter of beef is what she would get for us, and she would get things like soup bones and whatnot. And the farmer that farmed our land raised beef. So she would get beef from him, and then, they would work things out, between him farming the land. So Mom getting paid back into that, some of that beef that we would get from him, there was discounts on a lot of that stuff. And then, Mom knew the guys that ran the slaughterhouse, and one slaughterhouse and meat packing place in particular, the guy that ran that, he was an old timer even to my parents, and his name was Gene. And Mom and Gene were actually really good friends. They're both old Germans, so they spoke German and whatnot to one another. And when we would go over to get our quarter of beef in the fall or whatever, Mom, she would go down and she would get, a couple of half-gallon mason jars full of wine, and she would take them over and she would give them to Gene, and they would greet each other and talk a little bit about the weather and pleasantries and whatnot, and maybe have just a little nip of that wine that Mom brought. And they would go back into the cooler, and Mom would come out with a few rings of bologna, or she would come out with some liver sausage, or she would come out with a few steaks or a box of hot dogs, whatever, whatever they kind of agreed on. So that was how I seen barter work. And there was another gentleman. He actually was very good at making stuff like summer sausage, bacon, and whatnot. And Mom would take him potatoes. She would take him fresh bread when she would bake it. And about 3 times a year, this guy's name was Clark, about 3 times a year, Clark would call Mom up, and he would say, hey, we got some stuff for you. You can come around and pick it up when you got a chance. And Clark made a little room on the back of his garage where he had a stainless steel countertop on there, and he had a small smokehouse. And Clark would make stuff like Polish sausage, summer sausage, and bacon. And Mom would always get summer sausage and bacon from Clark. And again, because she would give him some bread, and she would bring potatoes over when she dug potatoes out of her garden. We always got a discount on that stuff, and we were always on the top of the list whenever Clark made summer sausage and bacon and stuff. And when I say summer sausage, it was in the muslin bags. It was like this big around and big long sticks, That's how it would come home, because it was old school smoked. And bacon was the same thing. When we got bacon, that was a slab that still had the rind attached to it. When you wanted bacon, you wanted a few slices of bacon, you sliced that off the chunk. And we were always on the top of the list, and we always got a little bit of a deal on that because of how Mom bartered with these old guys. And these are the kind of ways that I seen barter actually work in the real world. Now, would it be different in SHTF? Yeah, of course. There's always the chance of, people getting swindled, and, there's other things that factor into it. But the bartering with complete strangers, like people talk about on different prepping videos and stuff, I don't believe that would be prudent. Especially in a situation where supplies and stuff are hard to come by. And that's just how I look at it. But anyway, I thought that those stories were pertinent to, preparedness and to the whole bartering topic that goes along with preparedness. Wanted to share those stories with you guys, as how I seen barter work, when I was a kid. And like I said, there are people today that I would barter with in a heartbeat if SHTF happened. And there's another group of people that I would consider bartering with, especially if there was a need for certain products or whatever. But complete strangers, I really doubt it. It would really have to be a desperate situation for me to kind of stick my neck out that far. In a really, really bad situation. But anyway, that's just one of the ways that I look at it. And, things aren't ever getting better. It seems like things only seem to be getting worse. And some of these topics, I think, are important that people talk about in advance, so they think about how they would react and how they would handle these different situations. Sort of your, tabletop discussions on how to handle different things, and barter just happens to be one of them. But anyways, Modern Refugee. Appreciate all my subscribers out there. I hope you guys get a little information and a little entertainment out of my videos here. Just discussing bartering today. Anyway, you guys have a good one.